This might well be the most exciting and interesting new gravel bike group set launched in 2020, and I don't use those words lightly. Based on my first ride today, I think the Italian company has done a blinding job with its brand new Ekar 1x13 gravel bike group set. Hello viewers, Dave here, and this is my first ride on the brand new 1x13 gravel bike group set from Italian company Campagnolo called Ekar. Now hopefully you saw my first impression video on this yesterday, where I went through all the details on a group set and everything you need to know, and I've linked above if you missed it. But today I'm going to ride this group set on all my local trails here, so some woodland trails, gravel tracks, dirt, road and a bit of everything else, to find out what the group set is like to ride. And we'll focus on performance, ergonomics, range and other key topics I think need discussing. I will update with more in-depth reviews later on, but for now these are my first ride impressions, so let's dive in. It's climbs like this where you really need good range and good tyres so you can maintain traction and not have to grind too much when it gets steep and slippery. And while it doesn't compete with SRAM's massive 500% range, so far it's proving more than adequate, with 942 cassette and 38 chainring, proving a good setup for my local climbs. Let's talk about ergonomics, one of the most important aspects of a group set, and for many people it's the one thing they choose over every other detail on a group set. And I've always liked the ergonomics of Campag's hood. Slightly narrower, slightly more rounded than Shimano or SRAM, and quite a bit taller. And that, combined with the rubber material, gives a really nice shape place to put your hands, really comfy on descents and long flat roads, just a really nice place to have your hands. You can really hook your hands behind the tall part of the hood, and I fit my quite small hands admittedly around the entire hood body. And then you have quite curvy brake levers that are easy to reach from the hoods and the drops. Okay, let's talk about shifting, and it's a familiar Ergo Power shifter design with a combination of a lever behind the brake lever for going to easier gears and a thumb shifter for going to harder gears. It's a system that Campag have used for many years, and it's a system that really divides opinion. Some people really love it and some people just can't get their heads around it. It's very different to Shimano and SRAM, I will say. But one thing I do like about it, especially for off-road riding, is you have two separate levers going up and down. So there's no mistaking which lever does what. And you also have a fixed brake lever as well, which is nice and confidence inspiring on the descent. So this lever here goes up to easy gears. You can shift once or up to 3 with a longer throw. And a thumb shifter has a brand new shape, so a C shape or a J shape or whatever letter you want to use to describe that. And that goes down one at a time to the smaller 90 sprocket. It's a shame you can't do more than one shift at a time. That would be useful to go maybe 2, 3 at a time. As you can hear, it's fairly clunky, noisy if you're being unfair, or precise, responsive if you're being a bit more positive. But I don't mind actually. One thing I do like about the Ergo Powers is they're quite narrow, they're quite rounded, they've got quite a tall height to it, and the material feels lovely, so really nice place to hook your hands. More comfortable than Shimano's GRX, which has quite high ridges, which are quite uncomfortable on long rides with no gloves, and I don't like riding with gloves in the summer. Well, not summer, but autumn anyway. I know not everybody is down with it. What I do like is the fact you've got your left hand is free to just operate the brake and, you know, do a bit of Instagramming with your phone or whatever you want to do with your left hand, and your right hand does all the shifting. And so you can change gear from the hoods or from the drops. So yeah, it's working all right actually. It's quite noisy compared to the whisper quiet Shimano, but I don't mind that. You can definitely, you know, you change gear when you're riding off road, and it's very responsive. I've got to say, I'm liking it. It's mechanical, easy. So yeah, I'm liking it. Something else I'm noticing with the group set is that it feels just like a normal like 2x11 or 2x12 group set in terms of range, but not shifting gear at the front with a front mech. I feel like I've got all the gears I need for every situation, from the steepest climbs to the fastest descent. The 42 with a 38 at the front, it gives me plenty of range on the steeper climbs. I'm using that 42 in a few places where it's maybe 15%, 20% and quite slippery on the tyre as well. And at the other end of the cassette, that 9 tooth would give me the ability to hit some quite heady speeds, 50k an hour easily without hitting Chris Froome levels of cadence. So no worries at all on the top end, and that's with quite a small chainring of 38. And that is the benefit of the 9-tooth sprocket once again, is that you get a 42, 38 with Shimano or SRAM. They offer that option, but you're going to lose out quite a lot with that 11-tooth or 10-tooth and a smaller chainring. You have to go to a 40, 42, 44, maybe to get the top end you can get with this 9-tooth combining nicely with a 38. Oh, it's so much fun! It's fun! And that so far seems to be the real beauty of this cassette with a 9-tooth sprocket. You've got plenty of top end high speed action, but plenty of low speed steep climbing ability. So yeah, so far it's impressing me. But anyway, I'm going to continue riding because the weather is lovely. The wind's picking up a little bit, but we've got some rain forecast Wednesday and Thursday. So making the most of this dry, sunny weather. Really feels like autumn has kicked in. It's definitely getting colder. Got the arms covered up, legs will be covered up soon. Got a gilet on. Yeah, making the most of it. Anyway, let's continue riding. Now, of course, range is really important, as I mentioned earlier, but the downside to having massive range, as with SRAM's 1050 cassette, is quite big steps between certain gears, and that's not something that a lot of people like for understandable reasons. It really messes up your cadence. What I like about this Campag 942 cassette that I'm riding today is the first 6 smaller sprockets from 9 up to 16 offer a 1-tooth increment. And that means when you're riding at high speeds, especially on the road or on fire road sections, you can really hone your cadence, keep your cadence in that sweet spot that you want, say 95 RPM or whatever it might be, and have the extra gear you need without a big leap that you get on some cassettes. And then when you get to the top half of the cassette, the gaps get increasingly bigger. And that makes a lot of sense because when you're riding off-road on a very steep, slippery climb, you're not as worried about your optimal cadence as you are about having enough gear range to get you up said steep climb. So I think Campag can work this cassette really well with the 942, offering almost 2 cassettes in one. That kind of tight ratio setup you want for high speed road and gravel track bashing, and then bigger steps where you don't mind them so much when you're going off-road and up steep climbs. Now, a quick note on the 9-tooth sprocket, because I know alarm bells are ringing for a lot of people around the worries with efficiency losses with a tiny sprocket. But for off-road riding, for gravel riding, that's less of a concern than it is for a pro rider in the peloton, where they might be worried about 1 or 2 watts they might lose from a smaller sprocket. So for me, so far, it's not proving an issue. I'm not using 9-tooth all that often. When I am, going pretty quick, and I can benefit more from tucking and getting aero than pedaling harder and harder. So I don't think the 9-tooth sprocket will be an issue. Now, a hidden benefit of the 9-tooth sprocket, which I don't think a lot of people really touched on, is that because you don't need a big chainring, we got 38 on this bike up to 44, you don't need the big Q factor to increase the tyre clearance for 40mm tyres or wider in some cases. So a bigger sprocket on the back, you're going to need a bigger chainring on the front to get the top end speed you want, and that means you have to widen out the Q factor. And Shimano's GRX is a good case in point. It has a wider Q factor, more akin to a mountain bike than a road bike, and that's to allow the tyre clearance you need on a gravel bike. So a smaller sprocket allows smaller chain rings, and that means you keep Q factor narrow whilst maintaining the tyre clearance around a big chunky 40mm tyre, as I have on this bike. I should probably mention the bike the group set is attached to as well, because that is important. It's a very lovely Specialized S-Works Diverge, a top of the range model, full carbon frame, swatch box storage in the down tube for tools and other essentials. Okay, I've got to show you a cool detail on this Specialized Diverge. Underneath this down tube pod cage is this. Look at that, somewhere to put all your snacks. How cool is that? And there is a bag inside. That has tools, a pump, and an in-tube in there. That's neat, isn't it? And that goes back inside. I do like that. That's a benefit to having a massive down tube. And the Future Shock delivering 20mm of front end suspension, now with a dial to turn it on and off. Got clearance of wide tyres, disc brakes only, flat mount calipers, 12mm through axles front and rear, and a nice carbon fibre seat post not the dropper post you get on the standard S-Works build from this range. So very nice frame to hang the group set off, the perfect opportunity to really put it through its paces. I'll be honest, I was shocked and surprised when the group set was launched a few days ago. If anybody was going to innovate in the gravel space, it'd probably be SRAM, given their recent history. Shimano came out with a GRX, which didn't feel like a fully fledged gravel product, a little bit half-baked if I'm honest, but plenty of options. But for the Italian company to come out with a group set that looks so far, based on my first ride today, to be so well sorted for gravel and adventure riding, well, I'm absolutely shocked and surprised, and it's blown my socks clean off. So first impressions then are pretty good, and performance-wise, it's really working for me. I do like the Campag way of shifting. It's different, not everyone likes it, I know, but I do like the separated shifting for up and down. I do like how precise and responsive it is. It's a little bit louder than the whisper quiet Shimano or the electronic whir of SRAM, but you certainly know when you change gear, and when you're riding off-road, it's no bad thing at all. It'd be nice to change up to harder gears more than once at a time. That's one thing I would change. But in terms of performance, it's working really well. It's nice and quiet when you're running. There's no noise from any of the sprockets, whether the 9 or the 42. There's no creaking from anywhere. That big loop of cable is potentially an issue, but so far I've not got it snagged on any undergrowth, but that's something I will look out for. The brakes are really good, nice modulation. You've got a nice amount of range adjustment before you get to bite point, so you can really squeeze in the braking power. So far, yeah, it's really working very well, and I'm very impressed with Campag's attempt to not only play catch up, but I do think leap ahead of Shimano and SRAM. I do wonder what conversations are happening in SRAM and Shimano HQs when this was launched a few days ago. But one ride is not enough for a verdict, so I will keep riding this group set over the coming weeks, and I'll really put it through paces. It's lovely and dry, it's sunny now, getting nice and dusty, but we do have some rain on the way, so some British mud will be a good test for this group set to see how it stands up. But so far, I like it. That may change down the road, but stay tuned to my channel for more updates on the group set and also the bike as well. I'll give you an update on this bike and what this bike is like to ride. Any questions as well, make sure you put them down below. But that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you're looking for a gravel bike group set and you might have this on your radar now, it's definitely one I would consider. It's definitely worth a ride if you can get booked into a test ride. But all that said, I'm going to keep riding, and I'll see you all again next time. Thanks for watching.